everyone. It's Ryan Fowler here with Teresa Kuhn, my sister from another mister, Inner Masculine Live. She is inner feminine. I am inner masculine, and Teresa only has about 15 minutes before a client call. So be a shorty but goodie today. I'll stay on a little bit longer after that, talk about some things, but we're going to talk about how to handle disrespect from women, specifically in a dating, intersexual dynamics context. And Teresa, I remember one time long ago, Teresa, I don't know, 10 years, you told me that the most discriminated set of people in the U.S. is, I think, young adult men. And I was like, oh, wow, this girl gets it. You know, this lady gets it. How? Well, you have a son, right? And does that have anything to do with how you came to that conclusion?
Well, you know, it's kind of funny, and I'll just toot my horn for one 15 seconds. When my son was born, he's 27 years old. So let's say 28 years ago, I had already picked up on the culture moving towards empowering women and putting down men. And I realized, and this is a long time ago, think about almost 30 years ago, I had realized that the most discriminated group in our society at that time was the white
male privilege,
Christian male.
Yeah.
They were starting to pull down, right, the patriarchy and the white Christian, Judeo-Christian male. And I picked up on it. You know, the blonder you are, the bluer your eyes are, like that group was being discriminated. And how did I see it? I saw it in some things that I was reading. I saw it in schools, you know, because I'm in a male-dominated industry. I'm an attorney. I have a finance degree. It appears people project their feminism onto me because they assume just because I kick ass in the business world that I am a feminist or relate to that feminazi, what I call feminazi.
And you're feminine. You're not feminist.
I'm not exactly. I'm not a feminist. I'm not a feminazi. I don't subscribe to those ideas. I'm all about empowering everybody. As Martin Luther King said, right? Judge a man by the character of his by his character, not the color of his skin. We all bleed red. So why would I want to empower one against another group? And we need both males and females to be empowered. So I was picking up on in school, in work and business, they were all about empowering the woman, and they're constantly putting down the men. And this was 30 years ago. And today, fast forward, are you kidding me?
Now there's news articles. Why are men failing? Why are men failing? It's like, well, it's because of the beliefs you instill in them growing up. Duh.
And I'm going to throw one other thing out there, which is also very controversial. Look at the Black community. Look at the men in the Black community, Black men. Yeah. You know, what that culture has done to the Black man in terms of the messages, the programming that they gave these Black men as young boys, right? Play sports, you know, rap music, don't go to school, don't do this, don't do that. There's so many women in the African-American community that can't find a good man.
Yeah, because, you know, there's this university professor, University of Houston and also Austin. Her name's Brene Brown.
Yeah.
And she's probably the top authority in the world on toxic shame. It's toxic shame, empathy, vulnerability. And courage. That's her core focus. And she says, you know, everyone has this feeling they're not good enough, but when you call other people stupid or losers, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
That's what she says. Now, in our society, one thing about, you know, we were talking earlier about what is the red pill, and a lot of these red pill is just, you know, it's just group of men who discuss intersexual dynamics, and they have a certain bent to it. And it's not all the same. Some people are, what this way and some this way, but kind of overall, they have the same philosophy. And I subscribe to a lot of the philosophy, not all of it. And a lot of these men say, all women are like this, all women are like this, all women are like this. But I have lived in the Philippines for 2 years. I'm in Costa Rica now. I'm in Mexico. And let me tell you, the messages different societies give women and men greatly affect their massively. And you and I work with the subconscious mind. It makes a massive difference. In Mexico, women treat me with a level, one step up, a level of courtesy and respect that once you're there, you're like, I'm not quite getting it this way in the US in general. I mean, in general, across the board. It's like they are actually a little bit nicer here. They're a little bit more courteous and friendly and respectful. And if I go back to the United States, a lot of women, I think, view men with a little bit of distrust and with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, quite honestly. Do you see any of that?
Absolutely. There's a level of contempt that has been going on in the programming, in television, in Hollywood. Take any sitcom from 30 years ago. They started making fun of men, right? The man was the dummy. The woman was the one who had it together. The woman was the one that had to mother the father, right? The father figure, if there was a father figure, right? If we go back and see the feminization of women from a programming perspective, Mary Tyler Moore, right? And innocuous. I mean, it was a great series. Innocuous, beautiful woman, independent, empowered, but she was a single woman, right? And look at all the dummies, men that were around her. This is by design. This is programming. 100%. It is television that has channels with programming.
Yeah. And it's, social media, all that. Now it's taken to the next level. So
absolutely. And I want to speak to that for a moment. When we were younger, how many hours did we watch television, right? Who knows, right? Maybe a couple hours at night. Yeah. The messages we're getting on our phones while we're awake constantly. What is the messaging? Look at what happened with Barbie. And there's a lot of information about Barbie in the movie. I haven't seen it. I'm not going to see it. But what are all the messages that are coming out there about Barbie and Ken, right?
Yeah.
They are toxifying. Absolutely. They are toxifying women. Absolutely. And there's toxic men too, without a doubt.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And honestly, I hear women saying men won't commit to them, this, that, and the other. And, these are women who, they had their party years. Now they're like, oh, I want to settle down. And why can't I find a man, et cetera, et cetera. And every woman, different women are different. But for a lot of these women, it's like, I will think, I'll just watch these YouTube clips or they're talking on TikTok or whatever, and they're crying. And part of it, I think, is their fault for a lot of these women. And part of it is men are less willing to commit for a variety of reasons. And some of it, like I would say, some of it is men used to have to get married. Men got the most sex from marriage. Now it's almost like you get the least sex from marriage. You get married and then the woman closes her legs or just whatever, the sexual desire drops off, all of that. So, but I think also, men have access to porn and just other things, and they're playing video games and pursuing easy pleasures, and a lot of men are not going out making something of themselves or staying in their mom's, parents' basement playing video games, etc. So, I would say there's things on the men's side and the women's side that keep men and women coming from together, but it's some men and women because, we still have half the country getting married. So, now with that said, I want to get into some actual specific behaviors that women do in a dating context and get what you would do. I'll tell people what I would do, but we only have 6 minutes. And so, it's the point of the show, today's topic. The biggest thing, of course, is women will set a date with a guy and they'll ghost him. They won't show up. They'll cancel last minute. They cancel the day of. How would you handle that, Teresa? I'm going to point out a few things. Yeah, if you were a man, how would you handle that disrespect? Because that's straight up disrespect.
Done. There's no second chance there, unless there was a very good excuse, right, or a very good reason. But if you're talking about ghosting, are they just absolutely just next? Yeah. And I would work on your energy, right? Remember, we're all about it's an inside job. If that's
it happens to every man, but it does happen to some a lot more. I've heard guys who have a 90% flake rate, and it's like, what are you doing? Well, I know what they're doing, but yeah.
Right. So assuming that the man is taking responsibility for himself, it's a block. Absolutely next. How you do one thing is how you do everything. Right.
I'll tell you what I do though. If they come back and say, I'm sorry, can we try again? I set up a second date, but I double book and they are plan B, which means 80% chance they're getting flaked on. I end up going out with them if my first date flakes.
Well, may I offer some feedback?
And then 80% chance they're getting flaked on, which is totally cool. I don't care.
May I offer some feedback?
Sure.
I'd love to see you 100% be a man of your word.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good point. I see where you're coming from.
Why should you react in a way to a situation instead of this is who I am?
Well, here's my defense for that. Hi, EC Smooth. Welcome to the show. Number one is if the second date flakes on me, I think the first thing to say is I never flake unless it's like an emergency or something like that. Yeah. The first time, I'm a man of my word. But if she flakes on me, my viewpoint is, okay, that's the set of rules you want to play by. Fair is fair. I'm now in this other set of rules. She's the one who set those rules. So I will set a date, and having her as a backup plan serves me.
So if it serves you from that perspective of keeping an active funnel and having dates, and you're not taking her seriously from the perspective of, she's a plan B.
Once she flakes on me, I believe it's fair.
It's fair. Well,
I never do it the first time. I never do, because I like to think, well, I do have integrity, but my internal thought process is, okay, she just defined a different set of rules. It looks like we're playing on this other set of rules. Okay, fair. I'll play with these rules. The rules of we can set a date, and if something else comes up, it's okay. Because that's the rules she's established. All right, I'll do that because that serves me. So now I see where you're coming from, which is keep your word no matter what.
Because you're a man of your word, right?
I used to do that for a long time. Well, here's the thing. Up front, I always keep my word. I mean, you know me. I keep my word. I've worked with you for years. Tim Costello on the show. I've worked with him for years. He knows I have integrity, keep my word. But if someone disrespects me, then or they act as if it's okay to reschedule last second, then I say I don't view it as a breach of my integrity. I view it as, okay, she's the type of girl where it's okay to reschedule last second. That means it's okay for me. If it's okay for her, it's okay for me. I don't view that as a breach of integrity. I just don't. I just say she's okay. She's obviously okay with doing things that way. So I'll do it that way too. So for me, it feels fair and it doesn't feel like I'm breaching my integrity. I don't know if that makes sense.
It does. It absolutely makes sense. And we're gonna end on that note.
Oh, gotta go. Okay.
I gotta go.
Let's just one last really quick thing. If a woman talks to a man in a disrespectful manner, how do you recommend a man treats that?
Well, I think it depends on the, there's my alarm. I think it depends on the nature of the relationship. If it's early on in the dating, and if it's just really, really super early on in the dating, that is a huge major red flag. And I would probably say next. If the relationship has developed and there's been time and there's energy and you can see overall they're very healthy patterns and she loses it or reacts for some specific reason, then I think there needs to be
a conversation,
a conversation for sure, and a path to reconcile, right?
Mm-hmm.
And to set some boundaries. But if that is a pattern and not and the rule and not the exception, I think
especially up front, I'm out of there.
I think it's a deal breaker for sure.
Yeah, I'm out of there. Yeah, absolutely.
And that goes both ways.
Yeah, 100%. And honestly, thank you for your time. I know you got to go. So I'll say a couple things after this, but Teresa, thanks for checking in. Oh, no, look.
My pleasure. Ow, I can't hear you.
Here we go. Can you hear me again?
Yes.
Okay.
Have a great show. See you soon.
So thank you for coming on, Teresa. I'll talk a little bit more and then we'll call it a day. Teresa Kuhn, Inner Feminine. So here's how I handle it. Now, first thing, guys, I understand if it's really hard to get women, you're in scarcity mindset because it's like, oh man, I haven't had a date in a month or 2 months or 6 or a year or whatever it may be, or 2 weeks. And you're in scarcity mindset. It's really hard to hold frame with women. So let's talk inner world. First off, what I do at Inner Masculine, and Tim Costello does sessions too. Tim Costello is weighing in. I've known Tim for a long time. He's a certified hypnotist right here. And yes, EC Smooth, welcome to the show. Spark. All right, I'll go through these and I'll tell you my opinion. So Spark, if she flakes, unless she actually wants to reschedule. So yeah, if a girl flakes and she has to text me, I'm not reaching out to her at all. If she texts and apologizes and said, can we reschedule this, that happened? My attitude is, okay. I will book another date, but she's going to be plan B. And this is actually what Myron Gaines recommends, and I agree with Myron. There's a lot Myron does I don't agree with. Fresh and Fit. There's some stuff he says it's brilliant. So I don't fully reject someone or fully accept. So, I kind of say, okay, this person has good things and bad things. That's how most humans are. I'm not black and white. So just because Myron or Andrew Tate, Andrew Tate, I really don't like him at all. I think he's a criminal. I think he's admitted to crimes publicly. Well, he has. I mean, he just straight up has. There's so much out there. But he says some stuff on dealing with women that's good. So if it's really good, I'll accept it. Some of these guys are very eloquent and make a lot of sense how they put this. So if a woman flakes on me, then if she reaches out, wants to reschedule, I see no problem whatsoever with making her a plan B, and because that's a set of rules she's playing by. The set of rules she's playing by is it's okay to flake last minute. Okay. Prior to that, I keep my word. I always give them the benefit of the doubt. I don't want to take anyone for granted. I don't want to be like these women that just flake outright and disrespect others. But if that is their playing field and they establish that, I'm okay with that. So if she wants to reschedule, never heard of the plan B tactic. I think fair is fair. Fair is fair, and I don't think there's any breach of integrity there. But never do it the first time. I don't think it's right to say, oh, here's 2 girls that I've never dated before. I'm going to double book just to make sure I get a date with one of them in case the other flakes. I don't believe in that. I don't agree with that at all. She first has to display that she's okay with flaky behavior, and then fair is fair. I'll do it too. Teresa causing trouble this morning. She kind of does that. No, actually, Teresa's great. I'd say Teresa and I probably agree on 90% of stuff. 10% we don't. And that's cool. I respect her difference of opinion. She respects mine. She's actually a very high quality lady, and she doesn't flake. She just doesn't. She's reliable. If she does, there's a really good reason. Every now and then, you know, if someone flakes on you 5% of the time, that's because stuff actually comes up 5% of the time. Like stuff you just can't help. Okay, totally cool. So I'm not all black and white. You know, I've dated this girl for 6 months, and 4 months in, you know, she can't make it. I'm not gonna hold that against her. I'd say I do it at that frequency too, 5% of the time. You know, you get sick, emergency comes up, whatever, you know. But right off the bat, though, it's now. So here's the thing: I was talking about poverty mindset. A lot of guys, what happens is they don't get enough dates. They don't get a lot of dates. And so when women do this disrespectful behavior, they would rather tolerate the disrespect than risk losing the girl. And what I have seen and experienced time and time again is if you tolerate the disrespect, number one, it's only going to get worse or continue. It's going to be as bad or worse from there on out. And number two, I believe you increase your chances of losing the girl, but it's better to lose the girl than lose respect for yourself. Now, when I do sessions with people, the number one thing I work on with guys, I did a session for a lady this week. You know, probably every couple months I'll get a female client. It's totally cool. I want to help everyone. I just specialize in helping. Okay, it's probably on now. Can you hear it now, guys? Hear it? Okay, the ear, I don't know what that means, EC. Does ear mean you can or can I hear it? All right, let me check the settings. Testing. Microphone. Testing. Okay, mic's working. Looks like it's working on my end. Okay, I'm back. All right. So I gotta like not fiddle with this thing while I'm talking. All right. So first off, what you guys want to understand is you can get to a point, even if you're not dating women, you're dating very little or none at all. You can get to a point where you are not in scarcity mindset. You can get to a point where you say, listen, I'm great regardless. This is why I talk about, you guys may think it's woohoo when I say learn to unconditionally love yourself, approve of your ability, your value, validate yourself, accept yourself as good enough, flaws and all. You're good enough just for who you are. There's a reason for that. This puts you in a very strong position, because if you tie your worth to whether you have a girl or not, to how buff you are in the gym, to how much money you make, if you tie your worth to that, it puts you in a precarious position, because life happens, crap happens. You cannot guarantee. You may be making $1 million a year, and listen, I have friends who've made over $1 million a year, and then they went through some crap, and they didn't make $1 million a year. They made far less. I've seen that happen. It's life. Or 100,000 or whatever. You can't always control and ensure that you're always on top of your game. You know, I know that there's this UFC fighter, I think he's retired now, Brock Lesnar. He had diverticulitis. He had taken out of the game for like a year or two. Just big infection almost killed him. You know, couldn't control that. Life happens, things happen. So if you put your self-worth on, I have self-worth when I get the girl, I have self-worth when I have the money, when I have a fantastic physique. Number one, a lot of guys get all that and still don't feel good enough. because they have toxic shame. They just deep down in their core feel not good enough, and they tell themselves those things will make them feel good enough, and then they get it and it doesn't. I've seen it time and time again. I've seen guys make $1 million a year and still feel not good enough, like literally. I've seen guys very wealthy and be happy, but it's getting the Ferrari, whatever, can make you temporarily happy, but after a while you go back to normal. That's human nature. It's called hedonics. So, there's another comment here from Tim. So here's the thing. If you give yourself approval, validation unconditionally, then you don't need to please a woman to have value. And so you're not in scarcity mindset. If you need to please that woman, you are going to feel good enough. You are going to tolerate her disrespect in order to please her and keep her around, because without her, you feel not good enough. This is exactly what leads to beta male behavior, simping behavior, all of that. Yeah, they do not feel worth, they'll accept anything. Exactly. And if you need others, if you need things or a certain level of fitness or a certain level of accomplishments or a certain woman or any woman to be good enough, then if you don't have that, you feel you're not good enough, and you literally give your power away. Now you're getting engaged in this simp behavior, beta male thirst, one-itis, people pleasing, validation seeking, this behavior which women view as weak, which lowers your attractiveness. Now, some women are just going to be disrespectful regardless. And honestly, if they're disrespectful up front, I've never met a woman. I honestly don't think I've ever, maybe once met a woman. She disrespected me and I said, hey, I didn't like it. They do this. And she's like, oh, I'm sorry, and do better from that on. That almost never happens. It's so rare. Usually if she's engaging in disrespectful behavior, that's just how she is. She's going to keep doing it. So if she's doing it up front, it's better to lose the woman than to lose your respect. Just get rid of her. When I was in Mexico, I went on a date. Now, I had to wait 3 hours, but this girl was like almost a perfect 10. She was so gorgeous. I actually, in Mexico, I'm in Costa Rica now, I actually dated like 3 girls that were like 10s or very close to it, maybe 4. And does that happen in the United States? No. Like in the United States, every now and then I date a girl who was a 9. Occasionally. But it's usually 7s and 8s. For me, that's fine, And I was a successful guy, had pretty good game, all that. Mexico, it's on another level. Like you go to the Philippines, Mexico, whatever, you're just going to get more attractive girls. You just, compared to the local populace, you tend to have a lot more money, a lot more success. You tend to be taller. All of these things play in your favor. And the women behave better. So yeah, this girl was like a 10 or very close to it. She had a bikini pic on her Instagram, and you're just like, oh, holy cow. I put up with her disrespect. She made me wait 3 hours for the first date, and I took her to a very nice dinner, which, it's like making these mistakes that I wouldn't make with a girl who was merely attractive or very attractive, but this girl was just absolutely stunning. And so, yeah, I made some of these, went back to, I guess, the beta male ways or whatever you want to call it. And she just did a little disrespectful stuff, and it just continued. And so she scheduled 2 more dates, and then she canceled them, and then I had to cancel a date because I legitimately got sick. And she got mad at me. And it's like, you've already been treating me terribly. And so I'm like, all right, that's it. We're done. She still, every now and then, she still reaches out to me. And I'm like, why? So I had a lapse in judgment, with these very, very attractive women. But guess what? I ditched her, and I found another girl just as attractive who I dated. And she's like, when you get back to Mexico, look me up. I'd like to keep dating you. And I would like to keep dating her. This other girl did not disrespect me, but I could tell that, how would I put it? I could tell I wasn't her top option, so I don't think it'll go anywhere. I need a hell yes girl, but she's actually a very nice girl. And I met other girls that, not quite like the 10, but very attractive. There's a girl in Mexico now taking care of my dog because I made a last minute mistake and couldn't bring in the health paperwork. So she's watching my dog, and she's going to bring my dog to Costa Rica because she wants to visit. And, I've been dating her. She's not a 10, she's like an 8, but just a super, super high quality, respectful girl. I'd take that any day of the week. I'd take that over this other girl who's very attractive, who actually treats me well, but I can tell her I'm not her top option. I'm just, I'm a guy who likes to date. I might be the wealthiest guy, keep in mind we're in Mexico, but I could just tell, she doesn't disrespect me, but she's not a hell yes girl. That's okay. I'd rather take the 8 because this 8 is just a really high quality girl. Yeah, listen, these women who treat men with disrespect, they don't have a good internal world. If they had, they didn't have trauma, if they were emotionally healthy, had self-love, if they were raised in a family where their dad treated them well and taught them how to respect, they don't have that. A lot of these women are delusional. They have daddy issues. They don't feel good about themselves deep down. By the way, this girl, the first, almost a 10, if not a 10, who disrespected me, she actually once in the date, at the end of the date, she talked about how her dad was just this really mean guy, and she actually started crying a little. And so I'm not mad at her. I never had a second date with her. We planned to. She flaked twice. The third one, I got sick, flaked on, and then she was kind of upset that I flaked. And I'm like, okay, double standard, and that was enough. And honestly, I let it go way too far. The first date, she was 3 hours late. After, now in Mexico, the traffic's really horrible. You should have some give in Mexico, but 3 hours, no, completely unacceptable. I should have cut her off then. But she was so hot. Listen, guys, I'm not saying I'm perfect. She was so hot, and you know what? It's never worth it. It is never worth it. And I found other girls just as attractive as her, or very nearly so. One every bit as attractive. Nice girl, treats me well. And who cares? Honestly, a girl who treats you well, who is a 7 and 8, they're just better. They just straight up are. They tend to, even in Mexico, the 9s and 10s, a lot of them can be very nice people. There's a lot of nicer 9s and 10s in Mexico than there are in the United States. The entitlement and delusion and all that is not nearly as great, but there are still some entitled women in Mexico. There are. Costa Rica is actually kind of halfway between, in my opinion, I've only been here a month, so this opinion might change, kind of halfway between Mexico and the United States. There's some feminism here in Costa Rica. Yeah, exactly. So easy, smooth. You do have to account somewhat. Honestly, and I give girls about an hour leeway in Mexico, because that's the culture. More than an hour. I've literally had girls who, they were an hour and a half, and they said they were almost ready. They even texted me like, "Oh, I'm ready. I'm coming." And I just say, "Listen, I had something else come up. I can't do tonight, and let's do another night." And honestly, these girls were totally into me after that. Like, they were never late again, and they weren't like super late. They were just, they're a little bit over my limit. But it is a Mexican thing. I have friends who are Mexican, and in Mexico, you have to give them about an hour. Don't give them any more than that. Traffic is absolutely horrible in Mexico City. So you can honestly blame a half an hour just on bad traffic. So that's just how it is. But Tim here, comment. 5s are awesome. Bodies change, accidents happen, disease, etc. The inner world is so much more important. It is. I mean, honestly, I need to be physically attracted to a woman, but that's just me. But for me, a 7 is fine. And, that 7, 7 at 28, by age 40, she can be a 5. Cool. If she's a great lady, So, Yeah. So here's my summary. Get your inner world right so that you have no problem letting the girl go if she disrespects you. Now, yes, if been in a relationship for a while and she genuinely respects you and then something happens, you got to talk about it and say, hey, this happened. To me, it seemed like this. I felt disrespected. What's going on here? Am I missing it? Am I missing something? If it happens, you gotta, assuming this is a girl you've had a relationship with who normally treats you well, assuming that, when it happens, you still gotta sit her down and just say, hey, this thing happened. It felt like I was being disrespected. Maybe I'm doing something I didn't realize. You felt disrespected, or maybe you didn't understand what was going on, but I need to let you know I felt that was disrespectful, and here's my boundaries. And first time it happens, now if they're doing it right off the bat, let them go, man. Because 99.9% of the time, it's not getting better. It just isn't. I'm talking from experience. I'm 49. I've been on a lot of dates. Yeah, like and subscribe. Thank you, Tim. So if your inner world is right, it's no big deal to let the girl go. But if you need that girl to feel good enough, if you need that girl for validation because your inner world isn't right, that's what leads to all this simping behavior. That's what leads to tolerating this disrespect, to people pleasing, to losing frame, to failing shit tests, beta male thirst, one-itis, all of it. It's all tied to you don't give yourself unconditional love, validation, and approval. And deep down, you feel you're not good enough unconditionally just for who you are. You are in such a stronger place when you get to your core and like, I'm good enough just for who I am. If this girl, here's what's in my subconscious. I'll tell you my subconscious belief system. If this woman doesn't see my value, it doesn't mean I don't have value. It means she cannot see it. That's her blindness. That's her problem. I literally put that into people in sessions. I put that in their core. Deep down, they feel it. And it changes everything. Your attractiveness goes up a full point when you get this in you. If your attractiveness to women is a 7, but you don't have this like innate understanding of your value, like deep down core belief in your value, and then you get it, you're an 8 now, as far as they're concerned. You will literally have more dates with more attractive women just by getting that confidence in your core. Furthermore, when you do that, you're going to tend to dress a little better. You're probably going to get into shape. You're probably going to eat a little better. Now, I'm not saying you're going to turn into Giga Chad, but within 2 years, my income doubled without trying. It's just my inner world was better. My income doubled. People like me more. And I made more sales. I'm a consultant, my old job. I'm still doing it somewhat because I just have some opportunities I can't turn down. 90% I'm hypnosis. Yeah, there's other comments here. You fix your inner world. I mean, I had a sales guy. He was on a sales team of 200. He was second from the bottom out of 200. One session. He's I think the latest testimonial. You only hear his audio in the video section. Listen to the audio only testimonial. Second from the bottom out of 200. One session. Learn to believe in his ability and value. Love himself just for who he is. He is good enough. He can get what he wants if he works for it. Keep going until you get the skill you need to get what you want. Now, if your skill is a bicycle repairman, don't expect to be a multimillionaire on that. You got to get the skill. If you want to be a multimillionaire, if that's what you really want, you got to get the skills to make you multimillionaire. But you can get them. You practice, you keep going, you learn and grow until you get them. And there's going to be ups and downs. But you absolutely do that. You get that in your core. You get this value in your core. Everything else, it changes everything. This guy, 5 months later, was number 7 on the sales team out of 200. He went from second to last, and the guy on the bottom quit. So he became the guy on the bottom. So he went from bottom out of 200 to top 4% by just realizing he had value and that he could get what he wanted. He just had it. Failing doesn't make him a failure. Failure is practicing, learning, and growing. You get this in you, women like it. Women like a man who stands up for himself. Women likes a man who doesn't tolerate disrespect. You don't have to be a dick about it. You're just like, no, I'm not putting up with this. See you later. You know, if it's an established relationship and it's a one-off, sit down and say, I felt my boundaries are violated. You know, this is what happened. You know, I just want to respectfully talk to you and see what's going on here. Cool. Now, you got this in you. You're going to get rid of the disrespectful women, and then the respectful women are going to find you more attractive, and then you're going to get with them. And you're going to upgrade other parts of your life when you believe you're good enough. When you believe you're good enough to be an attractive guy, when you believe, you know what, I am good enough to make six figures, and I really want to make it in this profession, then you're going to go for it, and it's only a matter of time before you get it. So when you value yourself more, you don't tolerate less of anything. Not just lesser women, you don't tolerate that. You don't tolerate sitting around all day feeling sorry about yourself. You're going to stop doing that. You're going to start kicking more ass. That's what happens. From experience, I'm living it. You know, and I've done it for hundreds of men. Hundreds, and watch I have like 19 video testimonials. I got like another 10 audio. I got like 3 guys willing to do video testimonials. 100, and these are guys willing to put their name and their face on YouTube, sharing private stuff, but it's helped them so much. I mean, honestly, I've done it for, I don't know, 500 guys now. You know, all the time, people are like, oh, Ryan, I lost 50 pounds ever since you're, you know, this, that, and the other. Oh, my income's up 50%. Oh, you know, I got this great girl now. Oh, I'm killing it with women. And I'm not working on the specific skills for guys to get that. I'm working on their inner world, so now they believe in themselves at a core level. And then they just take off. They go after what they want. So when you value yourself, you just naturally will not tolerate disrespect from women. You might, maybe a little here and there. I was talking about the girls at 10, and I was like, man, I haven't dated. Honestly, I don't think I'd ever dated a girl that attractive before. And that's why I kind of gave up frame a little. And then I snapped back to, whoa, look at what this girl's doing. Okay, get out of here, lady. You know, so no one's perfect. Word. I'll go through the comments and then we'll wrap it up. If you hadn't seen your bikini pic, probably wouldn't have waited 3 hours. Oh, yeah. So her bikini pic on Instagram, her body looks like a 10. I mean, straight up. It's like so amazing. Oh, just good grief. And this girl looks like a Latina Jennifer Love Hewitt when J-Lo was in her prime. That's how hot this girl was. And this girl was as hot as that. I'm not saying she looks like J-Lo, Jennifer Love Hewitt, but not quite as hot. No, she's every bit as hot as she's a Latina Jennifer Love Hewitt. That's how hot this girl was. So yeah, and she had a bikini pic and on her Instagram, and holy crap. And honestly, yeah, I probably could have. There was some attraction there. I probably could have, you know, kept dating her or whatever. But because honestly, like even 3 months afterwards, she wrote me up, hey, how you doing? I didn't even respond. It's not worth it, man. It's not worth it. So, and guys, you know, if you're tired of American women, try Latin America, man. I'd say Mexico's number 1. Costa Rican women do behave better than United States women in general. I've only been here a month though, so keep that in mind. But in Mexico, they're not perfect, but they do treat you much, much better. I had 3 women, you know, I brought to my apartment of all the girls I was dating in Mexico. I probably dated like 20, 25 different girls in 6 months. I kind of went crazy, but you know, it's Mexico. And a lot of my, you know, it's not like one date and I don't see them again. Maybe that's how it was for, I'd say probably 10 of those girls, you know, I went on like 5+ dates with, and probably 3 of them I'm still in contact with. Anyways, 3 of these girls came over to my place. They saw my dishes in my sink and did my dishes for me. Have you ever had that happen in the United States? I lived in the Philippines for 2 years. I served, you know, religious mission for the Mormon church way back when. I've seen other cultures. I've lived in other cultures. I mean, this is culture number 4. That doesn't include trips to Europe and stuff for 2 weeks. I'm talking about actually living. And, Yeah, we'll get to wordplay too. He says he found hypnotherapy in the Bible. Yeah, and then Spark wants to know where, and wordplay do. Enlighten us. Where in the Bible is that? Anyways, if you go to another culture, especially a non-Western culture, you're going to see a completely different way of living. That's still legitimate. It works. It works for them. If you guys are tired of women in the United States, there are good women in the U.S. I'm not doom and gloom about women in the U.S. There are good women. You got to go through a lot more bull crap to get to the good women, but they are there, and you can get them. Try out Latin America. Try the Philippines. Jonathan Hogwood right now, he has his passportbro.net. And he's doing a program talking about, he's lived in Japan for 5 years, and he's been to Thailand and Philippines, and David Bond, who he's doing the show with, has been in 40 countries. I think you guys owe it to yourself to go to a non-Western country where the women, generally speaking, treat men a lot better, and see what that's like. And I heard Richard Cooper the other day talking about passport bros, and he says women all over the world are about the same. There's not much different. It's like bullshit, dude. You are so full of shit. I mean, I don't think he's lived for extended periods in foreign countries and dated in foreign countries. He honestly comes off to me as he's talking theory. He doesn't really know. It's too bad. Try it, guys. 1 month, plan it out. If you can work remote, 1 month. Go to Mexico. Mexico City is the easiest for dating, because you can just get crazy dates off of Tinder, or you can do they're nice on day game. They're nice, polite. A lot of them are flattered. Same thing Costa Rica. You do day game. They're like, you just ask them a question, and they're like, oh, un gusto. They're kind of tickled. You're a foreigner, you get clout. Some of us guys, some guys need to work on their wardrobe. Some need to lose a little weight, get in shape better. So if you need to do that, do that. But I'd say, look at John Hogwood's passportbros.net to kind of learn what it's like. And I did a show on Western versus non-Western women here, Intermasculine Live, with Jorge Diaz. That's, if you go through the live videos, you'll find that is pretty cool. He is a Mexican man who lived for an extended period in the U.S., and he's from Mexico. So we both know what we're talking about. You guys owe it to yourself at some point. Get to a non-Western country. I'd say Philippines or Mexico would be my choice. Thailand, I just hear too much in Thailand about too transactional, prostitution and whatnot. But maybe find good girls in Thailand too. I don't know much about it. It's just I've seen some YouTube videos. I've had a couple clients live in Thailand. It seems to me it's more transactional there, but who knows? Maybe you can find a really good girl there. I'm not an expert there. I'm just a month, 2 months. Live and date women in these foreign countries. Really helps if you know Spanish, but they have Google Translate now. My Spanish is kind of I'm 20% of the way to fluent, 20% of the way there. I still need help with the translate. I can do basic stuff in Spanish. So it's worth it. It will open your eyes. It will so open your eyes. I think you guys should do it. If you can, get to a good non-Western country. Be careful. Don't go to dangerous areas. When I was in Mexico City, I was in the Beverly Hills section, the nicest, safest part. It's safe. You go to Polanco, Condesa, safe. More or less. But don't walk around at 2 a.m. If you get mugged at 2 a.m., don't come crying to me. Be safe. Try it out. It's gonna rock your world. It's gonna open your eyes. Okay. West used to be like this once. Yeah, women used to treat men with respect by default back in the 50s, 40s, 30s, and then it kind of gradually and progressively has gone to crap. And I honestly think the United States, the culture of the United States is an empire in decline, and not just starting. It's an empire that's been in decline for culturally, 70 years, maybe, 60 years. Since the 60s. It's been in decline since the 60s. And you can even say before then it's been in decline, but I no culture's perfect. they had problems in the 30s, 20s, 40s, 50s. They had problems, but it wasn't, America was still at its peak for sure. Culturally, I think since the 60s, that's where it really started going downhill. Wordplay Dude says Jesus doing hypnosis. You're going to have to give us sections of the Bible that people could look up, because that doesn't really prove anything. Wordplay Do, Passport Bro course. Yeah, let us know how you like it. John MLD generally has quality content, probably the highest quality men's improvement content out there, honestly, because it's not just him. He recruits other coaches who are experts in various fields, fitness, career. I'm the inner game guy, and Paul Apex mindset. So I guess it's really both of us there. Inner game, incredibly important. And so he has a lot of good people giving content in his courses. John Hogwood does have good standards. He's not going to let anyone present in his webinars. They have to have proven themselves. Yeah, Passport closes at 12 midnight Pacific time. If you have any desire to do it, honestly, with the United States dating culture as it is now, I think every man owes it to them. If you're single, owes it to yourself to try, to see what it's like 1 or 2 months in a foreign country dating, non-Western. Again, my choice is Mexico City. And it's safe in Mexico City in the safe parts, the upscale parts. It's safe there, relatively speaking. It's safer than parts of the United States for sure. It's safer than Detroit by far. I felt it was safe overall. The options in Mexico City are crazy, amazing. I mean, I cannot date 1/10 of the women I could have dated. I just didn't have time. I'm working 55 hours a week. There was literally 10 times more women you can date in Mexico that I could date in Mexico City than I had time for. So the options are off the chart. Some of them speak English. You're in a nice part of town where you got blazing fast Wi-Fi, so that your Google Translate app works everywhere. Yeah, the West is declining like Rome. And honestly, I think there's a big cultural cancer. I think the red pill is a reaction to cultural cancer, but then how YouTube is the people that post the most sensational stuff get the most views, and I think that's corrupted the red pill to a degree. I think the red pill, the facts are good facts, useful information, but there's too much, it's skewed too negative. And there's all sorts of issues with red pill content creators now. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. But there's still good red pill content creators. Just don't go to the ones that are super negative and say like all women are like that. There's a few things you can say all women are like that for. Everything else, no, it varies. You go outside the U.S., you go to Mexico or the Philippines, you're going to see 90% of the all women are like that. Doesn't apply. You go to another culture, you'll see. How's Costa Rica? Costa Rica is kind of halfway between Mexico and the United States. The women are still nice. They're not quite as nice as Mexico. It's a little harder to date in Costa Rica, but I'm saying relative to Mexico. Compared to the United States, it's way easier to date in Costa Rica. The women are nicer in Costa Rica. I'm just comparing it to Mexico. It's not quite as good. The one thing Costa Rican women do more than Mexican women that I like is when you go on a date, they always dress up. They wear makeup, they wear dresses, they wear high heels. Every date. Like, I've had one girl not do that. And I've had, 7 dates here. 8. I've been here a month. Probably 8, like 2 a week. They almost always they dress up. They really make themselves look nice. But feminism has a presence here, although not as strong in the U.S. You don't see any of the progressive woke. You don't see any progressive woke bull crap here. They're more insistent that you take them to a really nice place and that you they're a little more they're more demanding than Mexico, but still they're not bad. Way better than the U.S. There are some parts of Latin America where it's crap for dating. The one I'm thinking of is Argentina. I probably dealt with 6, 7, 8 Argentinian women in Mexico. A lot of them leave Argentina because Argentina has massive financial problems. They have like over 100% inflation with their currency. And they are all just terrible to deal with. They're actually probably a little worse than United States women. Just FYI, don't go to Argentina. And guys who've been there say the women will flake 4 times, and then you finally get a hold of her again, and you say, "Hey, why did you flake 4 times?" I would never tolerate 4 flakes in a row, but a guy did this, and the girl's like, "Aren't I worth fighting for? Aren't I worth it?" And it's like, no, not if you flake 4 times. You're crap. Sorry, no, you're not worth it. You've proven you're not. They actually think that way. So, I think most Latin American countries are pretty darn good, though. Yeah, Rome collapsed. Yeah, 100% agree. Ryan may be doing a show with Paul for maybe, Apex Mindset has reached out to me. We talked about doing a show. He's just very busy, but that is a great idea, and I think I need to put more effort in. He's willing. I'm willing. We got to just make it happen. We're busy, but we got to make it happen. I agree. Best part of the course is the chat to learn from other passport bros. Yeah. I'll talk to Jonathan. He should let me in because I can give you guys some advice. I do very high-end business and tax planning. That was my old job, and I'm setting up my own tax plan. The reason I'm in Mexico 6 months, Costa Rica 6 months this year, is that if you are in a foreign country more than 6 months, you got to pay tax there. But now you got to check with each country. You got to check with local tax council in each country. But if you, generally speaking, you have to do planning to get the maximum U.S. tax credit. It's called the Foreign Earned Income Credit. I thought just by being out of the U.S. 11 months out of the year, I would get the full credit. Honestly, I only get 40, 50,000 of the credit. This year, I got to set up a plan to get the full $120,000 credit, so I don't pay any U.S. tax on it. And then you can set up a trust so that only with a business, assuming you remote work or you're independent contractor, have your own business, whatever, assuming that, then you need to do this planning to get rid of self-employment tax in the U.S. because you get the income tax credit, but not self-employment. If you set up your plan right, you get your self-employment tax down to 0. Your no U.S. income tax on about your first 120, maybe even 130,000 with the housing deduction credit, housing allowance. And then only what I bring into Mexico is considered my income in Mexico. So I got it. So I bring in 60,000. I can live very well. 60,000 a year in Mexico. I only pay tax on that in Mexico. And the Mexican tax is 33% once you hit about 50,000 US. So it's actually higher tax than in the US once you hit a certain threshold. So for you guys doing the passport bro thing, if you're really serious about it and you really want to live outside of the US, 11 months out of the year or more, shoot me a DM. And honestly, John should have me do a presentation. I'll reach out I don't know if he will or not. That's up to him. He's cool. His stuff is good. His course is going to be amazing regardless. But hopefully he'll let me do that because I know there's guys who want to get out of the U.S. permanently, and you want some sort of plan. He'll save you $20,000 a year plus in taxes. Master your mindset. Ryan, I understand fight or flight, but why do we freeze even when we tell ourselves to go? It's not deadly. LOL. Well, our brain, emotional pain, as far as our brain is concerned, emotional pain can be deadly. But first, there's really 2 parts to the question. It's not deadly. So why do I freeze? And then what is fight, flight, or freeze? So when your brain perceives a threat that you can beat, it's fight, more or less. Or there's injustice, this guy's being, if I sense someone's trying to bully, intimidate me, I get pissed. Really, honestly, it's probably the last subconscious program I got to tweak because I get a little too pissed when it's not my best interest. It's rare because most of the time people don't go around bullying me, but I get a little too pissed when that happens. even when it's not my base. So, but generally, if there's a threat that you can beat, you're going to get angry and want to fight. Again, this is very broadly speaking, very general. There's all sorts of exceptions to this. Flight is there's a threat I can't beat, run away. You just, and it's fear, anxiety, dread. It's avoid this, don't do it, run away. Freeze is this, I can't run, I can't fight. Neither are going to work. Whatever. And this, again, this is a part of your brain, the limbic system. It's like the middle part of your brain. Cerebral cortex is on the outside. That's where all our higher functioning, so-called, happens. And fight, flight, or freeze, it's all survival. These are ancient programs. It's instinct. Although the instinct to fight, flight, or freeze is instinct, but how our subconscious perceives a threat according to the subconscious programs in us helps our brain classify what kind of threat is it, or is it a threat? Now, let's take it to emotional. Why is emotional pain a survival threat? Because we get anxiety over emotional stuff all the time. We get resistance. We don't want to do things. Why do people procrastinate? 95% of people procrastinate, at least somewhat. Why? Why do you see an attractive woman and you're terrified of approaching her? Why is this anxiety so high? She isn't going to bite. It's not deadly, right? Well, I'll tell you why. Evolutionary psychology. Oh, Tim. See you tomorrow, Tim. I hope to have a good flight. Tim comes on the show every Saturday with me, with Gary Holmes. So every now and then, Brent Caldwell, Jordan Kurtz, all my good friends, all certified hypnotists. I did sessions for all of Tim I've known for 15 years. I did sessions for the other guys, change their life, and then they're like, I want to become a hypnotist. So they did. So I do a show with them. It's great. Okay, so back to this. Why does emotional pain cause anxiety or flight? Why don't you approach that attractive girl? That's flight. That's avoiding. It's avoidant behavior. Well, it's evolutionary psychology. Anxiety is all about don't do this, or procrastination, or limiting beliefs, or dread or resistance. It's all about if you do this, the tribe could disapprove. And I say that in very broad terms. If I fail, I'm going to lose face with the tribe. If this girl rejects me, I lose face. I lose out on mating opportunities. You lose out on the tribe disapproves. Maybe you get less resources now. Maybe you do something to make the tribe angry and they cast you out, or you have a hunting accident. You go hunting and all of a sudden there's a spear in your back. Oops, they accidentally kill you because the rest of the tribe hates you. So we have this behavior. Emotions are all about don't do this. You won't be accepted by the tribe. You're going to lose status in the tribe. And that is tied to survival. Because if you're on your own in ancient times, the reason people had tribes is it facilitated survival. Very, very, very difficult to survive on your own in the wilderness in Stone Age times. And furthermore, if you're on your own, you can't mate or reproduce. If you lose status in the tribe, now none of the girls want to mate with you, and your genes did not get passed on to today. That's all this. Approach anxiety instinct is 2 or 3 out of 10. It's like, listen, be careful who this girl is. Make sure it's not some warrior's girl. He's not going to bonk you over the head with his club because you approached the wrong girl. It's not the chieftain's daughter and he doesn't like you and now he casts you out of the tribe or he's ticked off or whatever. So there's a little approach anxiety that's natural. But they're all, for most of what we do, most of our anxiety, avoidant behavior, if there's not a physical threat, it's not deadly as you put it, there's an emotional threat. The emotional threat is tied to I'll lose status within the tribe will disapprove, I'll lose out on mania, just whatever. That, in ancient times, that affects survival. So as far as your brain is concerned, if you have a subconscious program, when I fail, it means I'm a failure. If that's in your subconscious, we're growing up as children and we're trying to figure out what are the rules of society in the tribe, what's acceptable, what's unacceptable, among many other things. And if you feel failing is unacceptable and that you're worthless, a loser, a failure, if you fail, That's very painful. Your brain is going to say, geez, I have this task to do, but I don't want to do it. I want to procrastinate it. Why? Because if I do it and mess it up, I'm going to feel terrible. Or you can just have pain over this part of our brain so ancient, it just senses potential pain or threat tied to any activity. It makes you avoid, fight or flight. It's avoid is flight. It's the equivalent. You can feel bad for not doing a task. If I don't do this, I'm a lazy loser. That potential pain will give you the same anxiety. You see that woman, if she rejects me, I'm going to feel like a rejected failure, or I'm going to feel like a coward for not approaching her. Either one gives you anxiety. And that's flight. It's avoid. Freeze is something in your subconscious says this threat is so great, I can't fight it. I can't run away from it. The threat is so great. So play dead and maybe it'll leave me alone. And this is all tied to ancient survival. You don't logically think it's deadly, but your limbic system is a different part of the brain. It's not tied to logic for the most part. And emotional pain could lead to death in ancient times because it could lead to disapproval of the tribe. Do you think fear about approaching women is not tied to tribal dynamics? Oh yeah, it sure is. So anyways, that's what that's all about. I fix that all the time. If you fix your subconscious programs as to what's good, what's appropriate, what's not appropriate, what your deep down belief systems are, what your value is if you fail or succeed, you change that and you can actually change the feelings you feel when different things happen. You can go from, if I fail, I feel terrible, to if I fail, it's no big deal. I had a client I did a session for in 2020. He's actually agreed to do a testimonial for me after I do some tax work. Fingers crossed. Worth $100 million, more than that. I mean, he's been on a TED Talk. He does annual conferences at MIT. He's a chair. I mean, anyways. I asked him how he felt when he failed. He said, I feel encouraged. And I'm like, wow, why do you feel encouraged? And he said, because I know before any big success, there's always failure, but there's only a limited amount. Therefore, each failure is a milestone. I'm closer to success. I feel encouraged. He literally feels encouraged. No, it's no coincidence that he's worth $100 million plus. It's no coincidence. And he's encouraged by failure. Other people terrified of failure, they stay in the bedroom and they stay in the basement in their parents' house and they view porn and play video games all day because it's safe. Yeah. So believe it or not, this is all, everything I've been talking about is tied to survival. You guys with scarcity mindset around women, they'll do anything to the woman because our ancestors, they needed to mate for the genes to be passed on here in evolution, or whatever you want to call it. It matters. Okay, let's see. It's a pretty active group today. I didn't even plan on staying on this long. This is cool. Okay. Let's keep going through. Okay. Yeah. You can email it to me, Ryan at innermasculine.com, or just put it, even better, just put it in the comment section, but you can email it to me too. If you put it in the comment section, everyone sees it. Wordplay do. The way the mind works is exactly the same as the way spirituality works in the Bible. You may have something there. Pete up, get the likes up. Give me likes. Give me my crack cocaine. The rest of the tribe hated you. Yeah. You're tribal and that's funny as shit to you. Yeah. Well, if the rest of the tribe hates you, your chance of survival goes down for various reasons. We need other people in the tribe to like us. We need the women in the tribe to like us so we can pass our genes on. From an evolutionary perspective, that's critical. Our ancestors who managed to survive and reproduce did things a certain way. And so your brain sees it as survival. Even though it's just emotional pain, your brain sees it as necessary for survival. So that's our show today. But listen, there's some instinct we cannot change. 80-90% of the rest are subconscious beliefs tied to feelings, and you can change what you believe deep down that makes you feel a different way. In the same situation, you feel different than before, you believe different than before at a deep down core level. changes everything. Now you're like, I don't care if I fail. I'm going to keep going because I know I'm going to win in the long run. And there are literally, I've shown YouTube videos and presentations. There's guys worth like Tom Bailey worth $400 million. He used to be a couch potato. He had an internal mindset shift. He said, the one thing that makes me special is that I'm a relentless learner. And if I fall down and look stupid, other people are laughing at me. I'm laughing on the inside because I'm like, I'm going to win in the long run. These people laughing at me are not willing to fall down and look stupid. But he understands that he tries new things. He's going to be making mistakes. He's going to be falling down, looking stupid. But he's going to learn. He's going to win in the long run. We put that in your core. It changes everything. You go from, if I fail, it means I'm a failure, and that's terrible. I can't fail. Therefore, I'm not going to try because I don't want to risk failure. You go from that to, hey, each time I try, whether I fail or succeed, I'm going to learn. But regardless, I have massive value just for who I am. Fail or success doesn't define my value. It's all just learning and growing. And I do want to try hard things and risk failure because I want to learn and I want to go after and get what I want because it's awesome. We have to do something with our time. We might as well kick some major ass, right? Put forth the effort until we get there. The failures in the meantime don't affect our value. It's all just learning and growing. You get that in your core, it changes everything. Now you start, you don't need to be a millionaire or multimillionaire, but I want guys who believe in themselves and then go after what they want. If it's be a surfing champion, be an amazing musician, a writer, a scientist, an entrepreneur who makes a ton of money, you know, a race car driver, whatever. It's going after, don't let society define what you want. You do what you want. Same thing with these women. You go after what you want. Don't let society shape. Go after what you want. You can learn and grow. As you go along this path, you may decide this isn't what I really want. You know, I decided, oh, I don't like perfect 10s who disrespect me. Yeah, it's all good. As long as you're not eating paint, you know, oh, what's it like to walk off a cliff? Well, yeah, don't make that decision because that now you're dead. So don't be dumb about it. But, you know, get this in your core. It changes everything. And honestly, you will naturally not want to put up with disrespectful women if you really value yourself deep down, your subconscious be like that. And then you cut her off, you let her go, whatever. So get it in your core, and a lot of this stuff comes naturally, like not tolerating disrespect. And you don't need to be angry about it. You're just like, it's not for me. If you don't have pain in you tied to being rejected by, like I have women reject me, I usually feel no pain. Maybe occasionally a tiny bit, and then 5 minutes later, I'm like, okay, whatever. And you move on. That means I'm not angry when a woman goes. Maybe a tiny bit annoyed. It just kind of, sometimes I'm relieved because sometimes it's like, oh, I had a lot of work to do tonight. Now I can do this work, honestly. But it's like no big deal now. It's easy to cut loose when they don't respect me. When you meet a great girl, it's really great. Yeah. So change your core and then you can do all that. And it's awesome. You have the power to do this. You change your core. And you will insist people disrespect you, or you don't let them in your life anymore. That's exactly what enforcing a boundary is. You don't need to be a jerk when you do it. You just enforce it. You got the power for that. You got the power to change your world. You have more power than you know. That's our show. Thank you.